Hi, it's Ivan here. I've always been interested in learning how to play the mandolin, but for whatever reason, I've just never really gotten around to it. So it's only taken me about 50 years. I've finally gone ahead and purchased a brand new mandolin. It's an Eastman mandolin. That's their entry level model. I purchased it from the Acoustic Centre in Melbourne, and you can see it's got a solid spruce top and solid flame maple back and sides. It's got a ebony fretboard and it's got a satin finish, satin nitro finish on it. So quite a nice instrument for the price. And generally it was set up quite well, but I found it really difficult to fret the notes up the top when I was trying to learn how to play it, and I was making my fingers sore, and I could see I'd probably give up pretty quickly if I just left it at that. So I thought, well, maybe I can set it up a little bit better and set it up so that it plays better and it doesn't buzz, and it makes it a lot more enjoyable to play. I've done a little bit of setup work on guitars before, and I've actually made a bass not too long ago, so I've got some idea of what needs to be looked at. But the main thing on this mandolin I found was the nut slots were cut a bit too high, so the strings were too far off from the first fret, and it made it really difficult to press. The rest of the setup seemed to be okay, so I'll put a list together just showing, I guess, the research that I've found and the measurements that I use to adjust the instrument. But I guess want to acknowledge a lot of the people on YouTube and on the internet who are willing to share their knowledge with people like myself and help us to set up the instruments, because I can't really justify sending this to someone like the US. It'll cost me more than I actually paid for the instrument, and it's a little bit difficult to find people around here at times to do this sort of setup properly. So I searched YouTube and found in particular a YouTube site by a guy called Jerry Rosser. He's from Jerry Rosser String Works in the US, and he had some great setup videos on mandolin, so I followed some of the advice that he gave and additional reading that I've done. I've gone ahead and set this up, and it sounds terrific now. So I'll try and give you a demonstration of what the mandolin sounds like after the setup adjustments. Keep in mind, I've still got to learn how to play it. But anyway, this might give you just some sort of idea. I think it's quite, rings out quite clearly. It's easy to fret the notes on the neck, and it doesn't have any strange rattles. So here we go. And this is what I've done to get it to that stage. Okay, so the first step in the setup was to check the neck relief. And to do this, I put a capo on the first fret and pressed at the 12th fret, and then measured between the 6th fret and the string. Now, there should be about a paper thin amount of space between there, and that was pretty much spot on, so I left that as is. The second step would have been a bridge adjustment, but again I left that as is. Looked like it was pretty well set up, so didn't really move that. The third step, the string action. Now I put a capo on the first fret and then measured at the 12th fret this time, and the bass side and the treble side came within these measurements shown on the screen, so again I left that as is. As far as the intonation goes, it should be the 12th fret and the open string should be in tune, and that was pretty much spot on. The nut height was really where I had the problem. And now the nut height, I guess they were filed too high, and they really needed to be filed down. The slots were just too high. So I took my files, you can see the nut slot files there, and used them on each of the nut slots and brought them down to the right height, which I had on the measurements there. So when you're doing this, you need to do this on a bit of an angle, pretty much going in the angle of the headstock. and I brought that down to 0.305 millimeters on the G and D, and 0.255 millimeters on the A and the E, and that equates to 12 thousandths of an inch on the G and the D, and 10 thousandths of an inch on the A and the E. And once I'd done that, that came up pretty well. So it helped a lot as far as fretting the instrument. The sixth point is fret leveling. Now, I didn't really do any of that. You should really leave that to the pros, I think. Word of warning there, step 5 and 6 could result in a major stuff up. So I was okay filing down the nut slots, but I didn't really want to muck around with the fret leveling at this stage, and they were pretty good anyway, so I left them as is. And that's about it. The mandolin plays wonderfully now, so it's just a matter of getting into the woodshed and practicing. Cheers.